Hello, I'm Professor Bill Durudie, and I'm the Programme Head for the Conflict Analysis and Management Programmes here at Royal Roads University. Congratulations again for joining the programme. I'll be your very first instructor for the Foundations course here. The reason we decided to have a Foundations course is because so many of you come from such disparate backgrounds with very different experiences and educational trajectories that we thought it would be important that you're at least on a similar page when it comes to coming here for the first residency. My aim in the Foundations course really is to get you to become critical thinkers. And the emphasis is on the word critical. I don't want you to become cynical thinkers. I don't want you to question everything with no purpose. I want you to become engaged with material, challenging its origins, content, and purpose, but developing a clear sense of trajectory and purpose of your own. A lot of what we're going to encounter in this course has to do initially with understanding the particular historical context within which we find ourselves. A lot of the conflict management literature was written by quite well-known people in the field, such as Johann Galtung, Roger Fisher, and many others that you will encounter during your time here. But they wrote it quite some time ago now. And particularly, I would suggest, before the end of the Cold War, which really marked a new period of change in the world since the 1990s. It's a period marked by a great deal of confusion and uncertainty amongst many different layers in society. Some have defined it as a period of the dissolution of the politics of left and right, and the search for new affiliations and identities, particularly, for instance, a focus on personal identity. We're going to spend the first few sessions of the course examining this and what it means for our understanding of society and our understanding of conflict. Once we have a clearer appreciation of where we are in history and in our particular cultural context, both globally and here in Western Canada, then we'll move on to examining issues to do with our own personal beliefs, boundaries, and biases. Bias is often seen as a very negative term amongst people. But in many ways, what we'll discover during the course of that particular unit is that bias is inevitable. It's part of our own individual trajectory into the world, being brought up with a particular set of circumstances and particular set of experiences to which we can only separate ourselves from up to a point. Even if we attempt to be wholly unbiased, it's invariably the things that we hadn't thought about that may affect particular situations that we're examining that could be found to have an impact later on. That's called a confounding bias. And we will be examining a whole range of other different types of bias and to what extent we need to become alert to these. After that, we'll be moving on to a section of the course that examines issues to do with ethics, justice, and litigation. In particular, in relation to ethics, you'll be conducting, as your second assignment for the course, the Canadian Tri-Council Ethics Programme. Then we will look at issues to do with power, and also examining in more detail particular conflicts as they affect mostly organisational issues. You'll know that we have a strong focus here at Royal Roads University on organisational conflict. But that's not to count out international conflicts. And indeed, many of the examples I present in the readings and will be looking at in the course come from the international arena. And what I'm asking you to do is to think about what aspects of those are relevant for the organisational setting you find yourself in. We often find, for instance, in the past, that students who came to us with particular experience working in the international arena would actually say, do you know what, it's actually organizational issues are the real determining factor. I may be working for the Red Cross in a conflict situation overseas, but the real barriers that I face are barriers that emerge from conflicts that are inherent within the organization rather than necessarily part of the broader context within which I find myself in. And part of this course is about the ability to navigate and triangulate between those two poles on a regular basis. After all conflicts are set in a context, and that context could be analysed at many different scales between you and your internal conflicts, you and the conflicts you have with another person or another group. But then we should also understand that those conflicts between individuals and groups, or between groups and groups, may occur because of particular structural problems in society, or even at a bigger scale because of particular geographical distributions of power. And even, and this is often forgotten, because what the world is changes on a day-by-day basis. And so slowly, organically, over time, you can often find that cultures change in a way that people don't notice on a day-to-day basis until it appears to them as a sudden problem and a cause of a conflict. Those are just some of the issues that we'll be examining. There'll be a number of assignments that you'll be tasked to do during the course of the course. And one of those that I want you never to forget about is the final assignment, which is a review of a book by Professor Frank Furedi. Furedi is a Hungarian who emigrated to Canada in the 1950s and was educated at McGill. He subsequently moved over to the United Kingdom, where he spent most of his professional career. And the book you'll be looking at of his is one that I need you to be reading chapter by chapter each week. Otherwise, when it comes to the end of the course, you really won't have time to read the whole book in order to write your book review. The chapters I'm asking you to read each week are clearly outlined in the course structure, so I trust you won't have any difficulties with that. The only final thing to say is, again, congratulations. And if you have any challenges or confusions as to what it is that you're needing to do, please don't hesitate to contact me. Thank you very much.